Joining us for KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where we give you more news in less time. Let's get started. The city of Spokane just passed its annual drinking water test, but 2 tests came back positive for the so-called forever chemical PFAS within city limits. Our Nicole Hernandez went through the report this afternoon. And Nicole, what water tested positive for the chemical?
So the city found small amounts of PFAS in 2 of the 7 city wells. One was the Grace well, and the other was the one at Ray and 23rd, which services the South Hill. The city said they didn't detect a lot of PFAS, but the amount here at Ray and 23rd is just over the new federal limit. The city detected 4.4 parts per trillion of PFAS at Ray and 23rd. But what exactly is a parts per trillion?
It's about 1 drop in 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So it's a very, very small, minute amount.
Small, but still over the new federal limit.
And the standard used to be for the federal government was 70 parts per trillion.
Back in April, the EPA made that standard stricter, dropping it to just 4 parts per trillion.
I think there's just been more data about how much is actually in our blood, and then there's correlations with some types of cancer.
So the Ray and 23rd well is just barely over that limit.
PFAS doesn't break down is the problem with it. So even if you're having 4.4, you drink it for a long time, it'll accumulate to some extent in your blood.
Chad Pritchard says for that reason, if you can, consider getting a water filtration system.
So it's a bit of an issue, but it's not something that I would be super concerned about in the whole world scheme of it.
It becomes a bigger issue in places like Airway Heights, where, for perspective, the PFAS tests came back with upwards of 1,500 parts per trillion. Chad also said it's basically impossible to completely avoid PFAS.
It's all over Teflon pans, Gore-Tex, it's everywhere. So it's always going to be in our bodies to some extent, in blood, and then therefore in the environment.
And the city says most people on the South Hill get water from a combination of 3 different wells. That means the water is even further diluted by the time it gets into a house. The city sent out a statement about the PFAS. They said they have, quote, implemented updated testing and are monitoring procedures for these contaminants. The city also joined a lawsuit against PFAS manufacturers and are supporting an investigation into the contamination. In studio, Nicole Hernandez, KREM 2 News.
New tonight, Spokane City Council approved a $5 million allocation of American Rescue Plan funds to support child care, housing, and public safety. The largest portion of the funding approved tonight will go solely toward reducing homelessness in downtown Spokane. Also new tonight, Spokane police arrested 5 teenagers in connection with an incident involving security guards near North River Drive. Police say the teenagers were destroying property at a nearby business when 2 security guards confronted them. The security guards told police one of the teens pulled out a gun and threatened them. When the security guards went back to their truck, police say the teens surrounded them and started yelling and hitting the side of it. The guards managed to get away and police arrested the group nearby. Tonight they are charged with several things, including criminal mischief riot. And now to our night beat with a quick look at the day's top stories. A man accused of shooting in downtown Spokane Friday night made his first court appearance today. Hoyt Webb is facing first-degree assault charges. According to newly filed court documents, Webb claims he was in downtown Spokane live streaming homeless people for his YouTube channel. The documents show an argument between the victim and Webb could be seen on that live stream. Then Webb is seen walking back to his car and grabbing his gun. According to the documents, the victim then ran at Webb, and that's when gunshots are heard. The victim was taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. There is no update on his condition tonight. Webb's bond is set at $75,000. Spokane police are still investigating a reported shooting just outside the Northtown Mall that happened last night. Police say they saw cars hit by bullets and bullet casings on the ground. Spokane police say several people were involved, but nobody was hurt. We will update you on this story as soon as we learn more. And new tonight, nearly 7,000 people in Kootenai County could expect a corrected tax assessment thanks to a database error. According to the Coeur d'Alene Press, the assessor's office knew the notices showed values that were just too low, but they mailed them anyway. The new notices were mailed last Thursday. If you were impacted, you should receive a new assessment soon. And that was your night beat. To learn more about any of these stories, just head to our website. That's KREM.com. All right, switching gears to talk weather. Our warm temperatures are sticking around this week, but with some wind this time. Let's get right over to Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Legoo for more on what we can expect. Jeremy?
Well, unfortunately, it does look like we get a bit of wind, but other than the wind, there's not much to be concerned about in the next few days. Temperatures mild, wind dying down this evening, but we are going to head into a much different weather pattern. Tomorrow we have an advancing cold front. That cold front already is working its way toward us. You're seeing some of those impacts moving over to the west side. There it is. And as it moves in, notice all the moisture popping up on radar. For us, all that moisture stays away. Instead, it's the wind. We have wind advisories in effect during the day tomorrow for wind gusting at 40 to 50 miles per hour, most of that on the lee of the Cascades. When it comes to tomorrow's wind, it does look like it picks up early in the day, but stays pretty strong through the afternoon, then eventually wanes as the frontal boundary moves to our east by Wednesday. Thursday, even calmer and even sunnier. Tomorrow, despite the wind, we still make it into the 80s. Following that front, we drop into the mid-70s on Wednesday, but Thursday we're back in the 80s, and that winds up being the best day of the week.
All right, sounds good, Jeremy. We'll check back in with you later in the show. Meantime, evacuations are underway right now in Chelan County, where the Pioneer Fire sits at about 300 acres. It's burning about 30 miles up lake from Chelan. A level 3 go now evacuation order is in place for the Rex Creek area. There is also a level 1 evacuation for the north shore of Lake Chelan between Canoe Creek and Meadow Creek. Officials suspect the fire began as a structure fire that ultimately spread. A total loss. That is how Coeur d'Alene police describe what is left of one of their buildings after an early morning fire yesterday. KREM 2's Cody Proctor spent today talking with police about the impact of this loss.
Rubble and debris are all that remain of Sergeant Jared Renault's office.
You see some of the offices.
After a Sunday morning fire burned down a Coeur d'Alene Police Department building.
And at the point that the firefighters got here, there wasn't a whole lot they could do, and the building is a complete loss.
The building housed the agency's IT department as well as animal control and code enforcement, along with much of their specialty equipment, including a SWAT vehicle, their incident command trailer, and riot gear. However, police say they did not store any ammunition inside the building. Sergeant Renault says the average person will likely see a minimal impact to their safety, but officers will feel the loss in their day-to-day operations, especially for the downtown and traffic divisions. That's because the fire burned all of the department's motorcycles and bikes, including their brand new e-bikes.
Obviously now they won't be on bikes, they might literally be on foot downtown. And so we'll still have officers downtown.
The fire comes at a tricky time for Coeur d'Alene police. Sergeant Renault says the department outgrew their main building years ago. Now with this loss, they'll have to scramble to find space for everyone.
We'll be cramped, but we'll make it work and until we can rebuild and recover from this.
That was Cody Proctor reporting. The Idaho State Fire Marshal's office is investigating the cause of the fire. Police expect it'll be at least a week before the investigation wraps up. Tomorrow, Washington Governor Jay Inslee is set to announce a new directive securing patients' right to emergency abortion care right here in Washington. The governor will require the Department of Health to clarify that Washington state hospitals must provide abortion services. This comes as the U.S. Supreme Court is expected to rule on another case requiring hospitals to treat patients who may need medically necessary abortions as a complication of pregnancy or labor. 2 people are in custody after stealing a semi-truck in Oregon this morning. Authorities say they rammed it into Multnomah County Sheriff's Office vehicles, then led police on a chase from Oregon to Vancouver, Washington. Authorities used spike strips which shredded the truck's tires. That chase ended in the northbound lanes of Interstate 205 in Vancouver. Before they were arrested, the suspects barricaded themselves in the truck. They surrendered just before noon today. One deputy did suffer minor injuries when the truck rammed into their car. Well, a frightening incident played out this weekend near the end of the bull riding event at the Sisters Rodeo in Oregon. A bull jumped a fence and ran through a group of spectators on Saturday night. At least 4 people were injured. Crews were able to contain the animal and remove it from the grounds. Sisters Rodeo says 2 spectators were taken to the hospital and have since returned home. Now to breaking international news. 4 American teachers in China were stabbed in a public park. All are believed to work for Cornell College. Video on social media appears to show at least 3 of them lying on the ground, one of them bracing their back. Cornell College released a statement saying their instructors were traveling overseas for a teaching partnership. No students were injured. The State Department is monitoring the situation tonight. Meantime, international pressure is on Hamas tonight to accept the ceasefire and hostage proposal laid out by President Biden. The UN Security Council approved the latest plan just hours ago, and Secretary of State Antony Blinken is back in the Middle East trying to close the deal as we speak. This as 4 Israeli hostages were freed this weekend. And that was your KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where you get more news in less time.